all of you were in 2010 in Marrakesh for the World Congress of Social Psychiatry. I think Afzal was there, Norman was
Yes,
there.
I was there. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
So do we. Afzal, your opinion, please. Uh, these terrible news about the shooting on the border with India, is this
Yes. Yeah.
a sign of great danger, or is it a
Well,
normal thing?
this was a friendly fire to begin with, but I think now it is getting serious.
Greetings to everybody. We are here for the 41st intergenerational meeting, and our dear guest is Driss Musau, and David Barron will moderate. The floor is yours first, Dave.
Thank you so much, Bulan, and welcome to all my friends and colleagues around the globe. I hope you're all safe in these trying times, but we get to enjoy what we went into our field tonight, and that's to learn from each other, enjoy each other's company. Hopefully, God willing, and sometime in the future, we'll get to do it over a cup of tea, looking each other straight in the eye. But since we don't have that opportunity, it's my great pleasure to introduce my old friend and colleague, Professor Emeritus Driss Moussaoui. Professor Moussaoui was the founder and chairman of the Ibn Rushd University Psychiatric Center in Casablanca from 1975 to 2013, an extraordinary one. He's also director of the Casablanca WHO Collaborating Center in Mental Health from 1992 to 2013, was the president of the Moroccan Society of Psychiatry and the Arab Federation of Psychiatrists. He's edited or co-edited 12 books, published more than 160 papers in international journals. He founded the WPA Executive Committee, the Jean Delay Prize, and is the scientific director of the WPA series International Anthologies of Classic Psychiatric Texts in French, German, Spanish, Italian, and Greek. Professor Moussaoui is the past president of the World Association of Social Psychiatry from 2010 to 2013, and organized two World Congresses of Social Psychiatry in 2010 in Marrakesh and in 2013 in Lisbon. He became member of the French Academy of Medicine in 2006. He's WPA and WASP honorary member and immediate past president of the World Federation of Psychotherapy from 2018 to 2023. He's also organized the World Congress of Psychotherapy in Casablanca in February 2023. Needless to say, Professor Moussaoui has been a global leader in our field, has provided not only friendship and collegiality, but significant positive leadership for many, many years. It's our great honor to have him address us today. Professor Moussaoui, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for your kind words. And now I need to share my presentation. I hope it will work out. Do you see it now?
Wonderful, yes.
Oh, okay. Excellent. So, friends, I need to put it, yeah. I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and mental health. And every single day, you receive most probably tens of papers in the press about artificial intelligence. It is the topic of every single day. So one of the things is to think a little bit about intelligence. What does it mean? I mean, if we think of it as a process going from uh, A to B or A to D or whatever, to solve a problem, to adapt, then it's probably much more than what we used to call intelligence for us human beings. And question, when we see how the matter, atoms, nucleus, universe, planets function, first question, are they alive? Is there intelligence there? We do know that trees and plants communicate. We do know there is a language there. And they do the best to survive. I have just seen this morning that a tree that has something like 80 million years there is a rebirth of that kind of trees today. I mean, it needs a lot of, I would say, smartness, intelligence to survive all this time. Other question, are the animal conscious themselves? And the way they behave will give us that there is the presence of some kind of consciousness in animals. But the question is also, are they conscious of being conscious? We don't know. It seems that human beings only do have this possibility. And we know also that non-human intelligence exists all over. It has been produced by humans, and it exists in computers, in cars, in trains, in TV sets, planes, banks, services, and so on and so forth. So it is a much wider concept, intelligence, than what we think being this small part of human intelligence. Now, I would like also to talk about computers, informatics, because they are the tools for artificial intelligence. And it needs to go back to the 9th century with the mathematician Al-Khwarizmi, who was born in currently what is called Uzbekistan. Al-Khwarizmi created in mathematics the algorithm. An algorithm comes from the word, from the name Al-Khwarizmi. So, I mean, without algorithm, there is no AI. And Pascal, the French philosopher and mathematician, and created a machine that was counted in the 17th century. And in 1940, we all know the story of this extraordinary man, Alan Turing, a genius, who, in order to stop, to enter the code of the German Nazi army with their machine called Enigma, he had to create a machine that would interpret and decode all the codes of the army, of the German army. And this man saved about 15 million people during World War II. 15 million. And he was condemned in the 1950s because of his homosexuality, and he committed suicide. IBM mainframe, I saw one in the 70s, early 70s, and it was huge, extremely big machines, extremely expensive. Then you had portable computers. I bought one in 1989. The weight was 9 kilos for the portable computer. Then personal computers. Then smartphones like this one. And this is much, much, much more powerful than IBM mainframe the 1970s. So it is important to have this in mind and to remember that Kaspar, the world champion of chess, was defeated by IBM Deep Blue in 1997, and that the world champion of Go Play was defeated in 2015. And this is even not more sophisticated, but much different and much more, I would say, human play. And still, the computer defeated the world champion. For those who are fans of science fiction, and I'm one of them, I mean, we remember the female robot in the movie Metropolis of Fritz Lang, 1927. We remember the movie 2001, A Space Odyssey of Stanley Kubrick. And that was in 1968, where a computer, to save a mission, had to destroy humans inside the space shuttle or a machine, in order to save what it was considered for the machine as the important mission of the whole thing. And of course, we all know this series of movies of James Cameron, Terminator, where the machines destroy human beings on the planet Earth because they considered that they were just kind of non-necessary elements, biological parasites of planet Earth, and absolutely unnecessary on this planet. Now, internet is an extraordinary, it's a revolution. I mean, we every single day, human beings produce more data in 1 year than all the data from the beginning of humanity. And there is an exponential development, not only in Moore's law, but in production of data as well. ChatGPT of OpenAI, conversational tool and able to generate kind of human mental activity. What is mental here? What is the meaning of this? We need to go back to the definitions and think to them as maybe not being what we think it is. There are currently 123 million different users per day. And 2 or 3 years ago, it was maybe 3 or 4 million, not more than that. And about 45% of people from 18 to 20 years old use it daily for their homework, and they consider it to be a second brain. And the two last, Nobel Prize winners in physics and chemistry this year used or worked with artificial intelligence. The question is, when will it be that 80% of all Nobel Prize winners will have something to do in their work, in their daily work, with artificial intelligence? Economically, we are going from about $8 billion probably to something like 190 billion in 2030, with an exponentially increasing energy consumption of artificial intelligence. So let me say that absolutely all domains are impacted. Press and social networks. Why do I start with this? because they produce opinions of people, and they change the minds of people and make them vote towards one direction instead of another. And this is very important, I would say, socially and politically speaking. Arts, we have seen a number of paintings, and music, we have more than 20,000 new pieces of music posted per day on Deezer and produced by AI. My daughter, who works in advertising and who is also a musician, asked last year ChatGPT to produce a song of 2 minutes. And she said, nice words, nice music, this kind of music. And in 15 seconds, it produced a song she sent to me. And I was impressed by the quality of words. Nice poetry, nice metaphors, and nice music as well. I was really impressed with that. And she was impressed because it took her 3, 4, 6 months to produce a song. It was produced in 15 seconds. Poetry and so on. Education, teaching. What values should we give to exams and diplomas? All of us, we worked a lot, years, to produce a medical doctor diploma or PhD. You can produce it by AI in 15 minutes. In 15 minutes. And AI passed the exam to become medical doctor in the USA successfully. Philosophy baccalaureate. Now, even more, and frightening to some extent, research, including in informatics. I have seen a paper, in the press, something saying Microsoft is using its artificial intelligence copilot to write software, 30% of all of its software. And that in 2030, it will produce 80% of all of its software written by AI. And I wrote to my son, Youssef, who is now today an important man in Microsoft working in artificial intelligence. And I asked him, is it true that Microsoft is using AI to write its software? And he responded, it is a little bit exaggerated. He didn't say no, it is wrong. So this means, and I know my son is very careful with each word, this means that it is not impossible that AI produces new AI which is better, more efficient. And we have a snowball effect. Remember the Moore's law? It is maybe the same thing that will happen with AI. And we will have with AI probably a generalized unemployment, creating new professions, but definitely increasing productivity. And we need to understand and to know if we will need to pay people to stay at home, not work, because otherwise they will die and we will have real social problems. In 1994, I bought in one of the airports in the US, I don't remember which one, a special issue of Business Week. What future for informatics? 1994, that's 30 years, more than 30 years ago. And they went to 12 labs of informatics in the world and said, what will be the future? And the extraordinary thing now about internet, about smartphones, about glasses with artificial intelligence, even if the word artificial intelligence was not used clearly, all of that was there. Google Maps, and so on and so forth. And they say you just put glasses on your eyes in 1994, and it will tell you exactly where to go if you want to reach an address. And it will tell you what is the story of this building on the left side, and what is the history of this street 1 century ago. It was, and it said also that the risk of singularity and that the AI might consider and think between brackets that human beings are no more necessary is there very clearly. I was so impressed with this special issue of Business Week that I made a whole session with my students, postgrads, but also with the undergraduates. And this is what might happen in the future. Be aware of that. The only word in red in all my presentation is this one. When you have Stephen Hawking, I have great respect for this man who was, in a way, a genius. Bill Gates, Nobel Prize winners newly who received, who worked with AI, saying general AI is a danger for human beings. A few days ago, J.P. Morgan, one of the largest banks and more influential ones in the world, said a few days ago, we don't understand what's happening in the black box of AI. Danger. There is not a single area in science, and hence socially, professionally, that will not be changed. Change of reality. We all know about augmented reality. But social networks being huge and everywhere, and false realities, you just change a little bit, one or two aspects of reality, and it's another one, different. And some people are completely addicted. They are no more addicted to movies. They are addicted to fake news, to fake stories. And when you see Kamala Harris pregnant from Donald Trump with pictures, photographs between brackets, of course, there is some humor in it, but not only that. I mean, some people will believe that. The more extraordinary, the more stupid it is, and the more stupid people will believe in it. And elections are terribly influenced, not only in the USA, all over the world. When you have a virtual spokesperson of the Ukrainian army speaking, on behalf of the Ukrainian army in 30 different languages, that's amazing. And impacting people all over the world. André Breton was a poet, French poet, who in 1924 wrote a beautiful manifesto on surrealism in 1924. He deceased in 1960, and because we have the voice of André Breton and images and also video of André Breton, now you can hear André Breton reading his manifesto in a perfect way, with the movements of lips, perfect. So, actors of Hollywood today forbid the use of their image and voice after their death. This is to say, how difficult reality will become in the future. And how paranoid we are going to become when we see a video, a movie, an information, and so on and so forth. And some people sold their image and voice, and they found themselves making advertising for pornographic movies, saying this is extraordinary. And it's sold for $1,000, image and voice. So very dangerous to do that. A Swiss church recently used ChatGPT for confession, of people to talk and to be forgiven by God. AI. This is to say that there is not a single area in our life that will be saved, that will be protected from AI. We do know that AI does better than medical doctors in diagnosis, particularly in imaging and anatomical pathology. MDs do less well than AI, and those are research study done in a methodologically sound way, do less well than AI, even when they are helped with AI. That's terrible. Even more than surgery at a distance with robots. A lung transplant with AI was done, and this is. But what I find even more difficult to accept is this: the perception of patients is that AI has more empathy than medical doctors. Goodness. I'm ashamed with that. This is the core nucleus of what we are, being at the service of our patients, being the servants of our patients, being as close as possible to our patients in order to help in their difficult health and moments. Now, impact on medical education and evaluations. I know that a number of us worked in the WPA section on education and psychiatry. What do we do with exams? What do we do with diplomas? What do we do with the thesis, PhD, MD? What do we do with that? And this is, just to tell you, I have a psychiatrist from Moroccan origin who works in Canada. And he writes papers on AI and psychiatry. And he sends me one paper every day. And I know him well. His English is not bad, but the way sentences are constructed in his papers, definitely he uses AI to talk about AI. And I say, okay, I mean, good to do that, but I don't agree. It is not reality. It increases it increases distrust in what we see, what we read. It will probably increase distrust towards science. You say things, but I can do also with ChatGPT. I know as much as you, and I can speak about that. All authorities, scientific, educational, administrative, will become less respected. Uh, it might isolate a number of individuals in their internet bubbles in an addictive way, being friends with influencers among millions. All is decorum, as if we live in kind of almost psychotic world. Matrix is there, definitely. And the generalized paranoid ideas and behaviors weakening social links, that just surveillance. Big Brother is watching. Because of some violence in high schools in Morocco, the Minister of Education in Morocco said, we are going to put cameras in all these educational institutions, and they will be fed with artificial intelligence. Because in the parliament, a number of PM said, this is unacceptable. Should I go there to see the Minister of Education and say, that's not something we need to do? There are other solutions? I know him well, but he will say, the parliament said, please give me a solution to have less pressure from the parliament. And the problem is, including what I said about professions and employment and staying at home, being paid, laziness, terrible, decrease of critical thinking, and cognitive decline because the brain is a muscle. You don't use it, you lose it. So there is a real danger there. Concerning treatment of mental disorders, psychotherapies of all kinds, in particular immersive against, we know that it existed for a number of years, phobias, obsessions, and so on. Avatar, that was produced by my friend and the friend of Norman and the friend of a number of people here in this audience, Julian Leff, and that was now taken care of and developed by another friend. Avatar is something extraordinary. for people having hallucinations for years, decades, resistant to all antipsychotic treatments, and improved because they talk to their persecutors, to their aggressors, with hallucinations being visual or being auditive. The interesting thing is that it is available 24 hours a day and not expensive. But what about confidentiality? You give informations, you give weaknesses. What will become of that from the ethical point of view? And sometimes artificial intelligence become hallucinated and telling this happened to the patient, please commit suicide. That's the best solution. And I think that we expect with the artificial intelligence in the 5 coming years to have an extraordinary development of all the fields of pharmacology, all of them, including psychopharmacology. And we need to remember that all big companies, big pharma, have left aside the production of new psychotropic medications in the world. And they will probably come back because the number of people suffering from mental disorders is huge. "52% in the United States of America one day or another had a mental disorder. Half of people with schizophrenia in the United States of America have no treatment and sometimes no diagnosis. Half of depressed patients in France, no diagnosis, no treatment. So, of course, we need to have more mental health workers involved, including probably in psychotropic medication prescription. But we need also probably the help of AI from the psychological help, if not treatment. Just if we remember that in Zimbabwe, a psychiatrist created an extraordinary concept. Friendship banks. Banks in villages, when somebody sits there, this is a signal that they are in a psychological difficult situation. And old, wise people of the village come, sit, and talk, and listen, and listen. And this is helpful. And a number of people now are addicted to AI psychotherapy. And they feel that they are helped. They are listened to. They know it's a machine. But when we know that the concept of placebo and nocebo effect in psychopharmacology or in pharmacology at large is there, even among doctors, among psychiatrists. So it's there, it exists. So what is the future? every human being becoming a cyborg? Neuralink, as you know, of Elon Musk, I don't know I don't like the man, but Neuralink is an extremely important thing that will develop fast. That's the interface between chips, microprocessors, and neurons. And it produces results, making somebody completely mute. I mean, without possibility of talking through machines. IBM said 15 years ago that they have hard disks that is a small coin, a euro, for example, with all the knowledge of human beings produced from the beginning of humanity. And I used to ask questions to my students. If there is a possibility of giving all the knowledge of human beings, all of it, to your son or daughter of, let's say, 5, 6, 7 years old, by putting this hard disk in the brain, would you do that? And the answer is usually 0.5% of the audience. Yes. And I say, suppose that 60% or 70% of the classmates of your son or daughter have already this machine inside the brain. What would you do? Then 80, 90% say, yes, I will do it. That's one of the possibilities of the future. And suppose that silicon microprocessors are replaced by biological microprocessors. It's no more 0 and 1. It is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, and so on and so forth. It multiplies, it's no more the Moore's law. It is even faster than that. Quantum computers. This is absolutely extraordinary. When you see that calculations made by mathematicians for 40 years have been surpassed by quantum computing in 10 minutes. Goodness. I mean, and probably trips outside the planet Earth and exceptional longevity with, this is something. With also health problems at large, but mental health problems as well. And we need to think of that. How many of our grandchildren will go to the moon, to Mars, or maybe elsewhere? To conclude, first, if you are not interested in artificial intelligence, AI is very much interested in you. And it will invade your life. Second, expect the extraordinary to become the norm. Acceleration is a concept to keep in mind very strongly. It has been, a beautiful book was written by a sociologist in the University of Ulm in Germany about acceleration. What about the more fragile? They don't want to run anymore. They sit on the side of the road. Another question. Will the quantitative have produces a leap in the qualitative concerning conscience in machines? I, Robot. Maybe, not impossible. The solution is systematic education for all in AI since lower school. That is what the United Arab Emirates decided a few days ago. AI will be taught to in primary school to all, and to develop critical thinking in an ethical way. And we have an NGO in Morocco. I was one of the founders. I'm vice president. We have 7,500 schools in rural areas in Morocco. And we decided to introduce philosophy to kids of 4 and 5 years old. It is something extremely important to do for the future of humanity, and of course, to keep a high vigilance towards bad outcomes of AI in psychotherapy, in mental health at large. What I talked about is social psychology and social psychiatry. And I'm very pleased to inform you that from 15 to 17 of January 2026, next January, in Marrakesh, we will have the 25th World Congress of Social Psychiatry, caring for the vulnerable. And if we continue the way we are with AI and the black box, we don't know what's happening inside, we will all become vulnerable to artificial intelligence. So it is, I do hope that many of you will join us in the beautiful city of Marrakesh next January. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Moussaoui. So for someone who here is at almost 1 o'clock in the morning in Los Angeles, I'm sure I'm going to have nightmares based on what you just said. But I think it's so important because it's so easy to say, well, particularly for those of us with more gray hair than not, that it's not part of our generation and it won't affect us. And I really appreciate you inspiring us on why we can't put our heads in the sand, that we need to engage because it's going to happen whether we like it or not. We have some time left. I'd like to open it for questions or comments for those very thought-provoking and very timely comments. So thank you so much, Driss, for just a wonderful, if not somewhat frightening at some levels. So please, let's open the floor. Boulan, can you address, or if people can either get into the chat or ask some questions or have some comments for Professor Moussaoui?
I would request Driss to, yeah, close the, yeah, thank you. Well, I believe the other people will ask questions, but I have one special question. If that chip would be placed in our minds or in our children's minds, what would this audience think about it? Are we going to agree with it, or?
Maybe the question is, will we agree with it, but what will we do when that becomes a reality, even for some? So I think what I heard, and I'd love to hear from some wonderful senior colleagues. I want to thank all of our, some of the world's leaders in psychiatry who are on the call to join this. I'd love to hear their comments and really hear from our young colleagues who will be living this. But maybe the issue is not, would we do it, but when it happens, how will we become a part of it, and what we can contribute, as opposed to just saying, well, maybe it's just not going to be there. But I'd love to hear the comments, and maybe I could encourage some of our more senior and highly experienced senior colleagues, but also I'd love to hear from some of our junior colleagues who probably have a very different perspective, because this will have a greater impact on their life than those of us who are in the gray beard part of our lives.
Dr. Sartorius.
Well, I want to first express my praise and really all the compliments I could make to this presentation. It was doing exactly what intelligence does not do. It was a wise presentation. And I think that the difference between intelligence and wisdom is the one which we should keep in mind. Intelligence is a servant who can be used for good or bad purposes, but it's the wisdom which should direct what we are doing. And wisdom is not in the machine. Wisdom is still a human feature which can be developed if people give enough attention to it. Now, I liked your presentation so much that I'd like you to please send me a copy of your slides, because I think it contains a variety of things which I'd like to quote, and I'd like to be short. But I think I have a question, and this is the following. It's extremely wise that you are thinking about educating children about wisdom, which means ethics, which means philosophy, which means thinking, which making sure that the artificial intelligence is our servant rather than our master. Who is going to teach it? Because this is a question. The career as being a teacher of an elementary school in a village is not one that will attract many people. It attracts the best of people, but there are not many of them. And yet we would have to educate everybody. So how do we resolve the question of teaching ethics, etc.? Previously, it was done to a large extent in families. Parents were spending their time to teach the children how to live in a world which is complicated, and they were giving them wisdom. The best of families produced wise people. But now the families are falling apart. We know that the average duration of marriage has gone down 70% in the last 10 years, and it's going down continuously, so that most of the marriages are now becoming chance encounters with occasional visions. So this problem of maintaining wisdom and offering wisdom so that people can use artificial intelligence wisely to the progress, this is a question that pesters me, and I'd like to hear your opinion about it.
Thank you very much, Norman, for what you said. I will send you the slides. Concerning the way to teach children, what we did in the Zakura Foundation on education that I was talking about, and which is now 30 years old, what we did is to create inside this foundation, we created what we call the House of Wisdom. In Arabic, Dar al-Hikmah. And Dar al-Hikmah existed in Baghdad in the 8th, 9th century with science, philosophy, and so on. And what we do is to teach teachers how to teach the children. And this is done through very simple problems if is it good to give or is it good to receive something from the other kids, and why, and to let them reflect on practical situations. So we teach the teachers to make the children think better about their lives and in a critical way.
Yeah, I hope that this can be spread wider. The way of teaching wisdom is not one that is easy. It's not well paid either. Parents in the past, very often the best of people have been teaching, the passing on. They were also giving an example, because one learns from examples. If you see that your parents and your senior brothers and sisters are behaving in a certain way as a child, you learn that way of behaving and you become a better person. But if the family is falling apart, the teachers are also children of families that have fallen apart. So it is a challenge, I think, to produce teachers.
I do agree, Norman. But what you are talking about is true to some extent, not in my country, less in my country. I mean, family is so extremely important for everybody, including, and I think probably in India, in Pakistan, in China, maybe less in Japan, in Mediterranean region, especially in the southern part and eastern part, it is still important. I'm sure in Portugal and in Spain, family is still important. This explains, for example, that for a population of 36 million, 38 million now in Morocco, we have only 2,000 psychiatric beds, because most of the psychotic patients are taken care of by the family. So family ties are still there to some extent, and wisdom is still there and conveyed from one generation to another. I like very much, Bulent, what this transgenerational concept. It still exists in families, and we are a big family as well. I think Mariana would like to say something.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And thank you so much for the inspiring talk. I think it was really interesting to hear such a varied approach about AI and digital mental health. I have like a comment and a question. The first comment, I just wanted to share that in some years ago, we did a joint webinar between the early career psychiatry section of the WPA and the early career psychiatry section of the World Association of Social Psychiatry, precisely on AI and education. And it was very interesting discussion to really have different examples from senior psychiatrists like Professor Afzal Javed, who was there then, and young colleagues to really discuss these matters that are influencing us already now, as you mentioned, but I think will influence us even more in the future. And so I guess my question is, in your view, do you think that AI can predominantly or primarily help in the future to reduce, for example, clinician burnout by streamlining tasks, or are you more concerned about the risk that it may add to cognitive overload?
Thank you very much, Mariana, for your question. Important one. Every single technology brings good and bad with it. You know, there was a funny thing. In 1910, journalists were writing about the crazy people who were driving their cars at 17 kilometers per hour and doing accidents. And the cars at that time, 50% of them made accidents every other month. So, I mean, will it help? I think it might help. And I said that in my presentation. Can it be dangerous? Yes. And this is why we need vigilance. If there is a bad thing happening with AI in psychotherapy, then we need to advertise it and let people know it and correct. So I think both sides are there. and we need to increase the good one and to stop, if we can, the bad one until generalized AI is there, and then we'll see.
Other questions or comments? I'd love to hear from some of our more junior uh, participants on the call and give your perspective of someone who's kind of grown up with computers and social media in a way that the more senior members on the call is something we still struggle to learn in the twilight of our careers.
So, hi, first of all, good morning, everyone. I'm from Portugal, so here are 9 a.m. Thank you so much for your presentation, Professor. It was a very complete approach, so thank you so much. I took some notes, and in fact, a particular fact that I appreciated on your presentation was the mention to the study reporting that some patients think that AI has more empathy than medical doctors. And I think we should be very concerned about it. And as a student, I'm finishing my medical studies now, and sometimes I, so I observe my colleagues at the hospital and the way of working, and I can compare with senior ones. And it makes a lot of sense to me, particularly because I truly think we lost the sense of empathy in the medical profession. So I would say that the senior ones should be very aware on this topic and prepare, sensibilize the younger ones. And yes.
Thank you for your comment. I used to say to tell my students, please serve the hardcore of our profession is to serve the patients and the families. Please serve them as well as you can. We need all of us to be the servants of our patients. As you teacher, I'm your servant. You students, you want to know if this is true, if it's not just blah, blah, blah words in the air? Come to my office with questions or whatever. If my office, there is nobody else than me for 5 minutes, and I don't ask you to come in, then you can say, Driss Moussaoui is a liar, and I won't believe anything you would say. I'm your servant. Be the servant of your patients. Period.
I wonder if you could comment. I think that's such an excellent question. Maybe we shouldn't be focusing on is AI going to take over, but what have we given up? And I think as educators, and all of the seniors on this call have been long careers as educators and researchers, should we be focusing on getting the right answer, having the right facts, being able to quote the most recent journal? Or maybe should we maybe be looking at, and I think you're already doing this, and I wonder if you could comment a bit more on it, on the process of what it is that we bring that at least at this point AI can't bring, and use AI to come up with the data that we need at the blink of an eye, quote the most recent literature, but maybe training our students in the ability to interact, the importance of interpersonal relationships, and that changing it from a fact base get 70% correct on the exam and then you'll get your degree. As you already said, the AI can do that, but maybe focus on what physicians can bring, that sense of empathy and caring and how to listen and how to connect with another human being. I mean, maybe this is an indictment of what we've become in medical education, where it's all about coming up with the right answers 70% of the time, and then you earn your degrees, as opposed to being competent in human interaction and interpersonal interaction. So I wonder what you think about, maybe we need to rethink all education, not just in primary school, but all the way through.
I do agree with you 100%. In the 1980s, I proposed already to the Faculty of Medicine of Casablanca not to have an exam, because, I mean, for people who would like to join the Faculty of Medicine, they had a written exam with the MCQs and so on. I said, no, MCQs, okay. But the most important is the interaction with each of these candidates. How good are they not only to be good in mathematics and physics and chemistry, but in relating to others and what they want to do with their lives. I used to tell my students also, if you want to be rich, please leave this faculty and go elsewhere. It is not the way to become rich.
Investment banking.
Yeah, go do banking or whatever. I mean, there are a number of things why people want to do medicine. And this is, we do know that only the way they look at us, the way they speak, the way they interact, the tone of voice they use to answer or to reply or to assess something. So I 100% agree with you.
Thank you. Norman, you had a comment, please.
Yeah, well, we had a professor of psychology who was creating a new intelligence test. And it was an intelligence test, I think, which is very relevant to what we are discussing. It was a test in which you had to produce the best solution and then also other solutions which are less good. And he was trying to apply this test, and then he applied it to a series of people, and he discovered that the best success in life were those who produced many solutions, not only the best one, but also the less good one, but also possible. So that I think it's the capacity to understand that intelligence is not giving us the right way. It's one of the ways, which sometimes to be changed. You have to sometimes be less intelligent to be more successful. And I think that is part of the teaching which your philosophy teachers in elementary school should include. It's not only the best solution that we should know, but we should consider all solutions and take the one which satisfies most criteria of advance.
Norman, thank you. Afzal, please.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Grace Masavi. As usual, your talk was thought-provoking, visionary, engaging, and full of information. About the topic, my only concern and apprehension, I won't say it concern, but apprehension is that AI is inevitable. It will come up and it will take over not only in our medical field, but all our day-to-day activities. But what Professor Sartorius mentioned about the wisdom, there will be some issues if we will be depending exclusively on the AI. It makes a big difference for a student to stay in his bedroom and just read something, but going to someone, interacting with someone, have its own value. So my concern or apprehension is that while we are entering into a phase where we are getting machine learning, where we are getting so many sophisticated ways to get on, will we lose that empathy? Will we lose that wisdom? Will we lose that contact, which is really a sort of essential? I just want to end with a quote. I read it and I liked it. It was about saying or describing something. So it says that what you say, education tells you what to say. Your upbringing tells you how to say. And your experience tells you when to say. So this when comes from experience and from wisdom. So let's hope that wisdom is not taken away with this artificial intelligence. It is artificial anyway.
Thank you very much, Afzal. What you said is very important. Wisdom and empathy are essential. Now, I just wanted to say something that is ancient in humanity about empathy. We do know that empathy exists among animals, and they are essential part of human beings. For example, why is it that 2,500 years ago, in the agora Roman cities, or in Greek ancient cities, you had actors playing terrible tragedies, and people liked it very much because, as what I said concerning the brain, if you don't use it, you lose it. Empathy as well. If you don't use it, you lose it. And there is no humanity without empathy. The only thing is to use it as much as possible. Same for wisdom. Use it or lose it. It's all connected. That's what I had to say.
We just have a few minutes left. Any of our junior members, I would love to hear your perspective. I know you're all being very respectful and listening to those of us who, have had plenty of years to teach and talk. You are our future. It is up to you kind of how we decide we're going to go forward. It will be much less on us. We'll need to rely on you. So I wonder if anyone else who hasn't had a chance, to share their comments or their thoughts, to please, I personally would love to hear your perspective on all this, because as I said, you've grown up with social media and computers in a way that most of us, when we were your age, were just learning how to use a slide rule.
Sibyl has a talk.
Yeah, I don't know if my voice come normally,
fine.
but okay, thank you. I don't like AI, in fact, very much because AI is not available for everyone. In rural areas, still people can't use smartphones very well, and the other things are not equal for everyone. So I think if AI is are in the daily lives, we use it normally, and the people who can't use it, they will they not feel like they are the others. They are not like us. They are not like all. They are other the community. How can we maintain their mental health as well? And how can we make sure that AI doesn't AI doesn't share the information from the people, because we are doctors, we will be doctors, or we can't make sure we are not we can't make sure that AI doesn't share any information from the patients, but we have the responsibility, I think, I don't know. So how can we make sure that AI can be safe for our patients? Because in some point, I guess, we have to say something about this to patients, to mental health patients especially.
Thank you very much for your two important questions. First, rural areas, I talked about friendship banks. That's very cheap and quite helpful. Second, how can we sure that confidentiality is maintained with AI? We have no certainty about that. You know, the funny thing is that when you have two robots, two machines connecting between themselves, they use a language the people working in informatics do not know what it is. They connect in a different language people understand. Different language, neo language. So how can we maintain confidentiality 100%? For the time being, it's impossible. Sorry to give bad news again.
So I think on that note, what we see is the challenge to all of you who are younger than all of us is how are you going to deal with this? How are you going to bring wisdom in? How are you going to train the generation behind you? Because it won't fall on us, those of us who were, again, a bit more of the gray in the hair, but it'll fall on you and how you choose to deal with it. And what we hope, I think, as seniors, is to maybe listen to you, but share some advice the way everyone, Professor Sartorius, Professor Javed, and certainly Professor Musali. And I want to hear from the person who's responsible for these thought-provoking ideas. We want to end with Dr. And Professor Kostyan. But really, I think the challenge is you. You'll hear us say that you are our future. Well, that's a good thing. But now the challenge is, how are you going to deal with this? And what can we do to support you and help you as you take on this critically important challenge moving forward for all of humanity so that we can do whatever possible to increase quality of life across the world, rural areas, rich, poor. This is an issue for humanity. So, Bulan, you put so much work and effort into these. I'd like to give you the final word, and I will have to say goodnight soon because in Los Angeles it's approaching 1:30 a.m. and I've been up on Zoom calls since 6 a.m. So, Bulan, please.
Thank you for being with us, Dave, and many thanks to Dries for his really thought-provoking and richening thoughts and wisdom, as the other colleagues say. I think, again, as usual, we do not have much students among us, but still, their input was also important. I would only thank you all for being with us, and we are putting aside a very important archive for future. That's the best part of this series of intergenerational meetings, I believe. Thank you all for being with us.
Yes, let's not feel intimidated. Let's feel challenged to take on this challenge because in the end, it will be us, as Professor Koshin said. So thank you all very much. Good night. Good morning for those of you. Absolutely, I need to touch base on some other things. Thanks so much for seeing everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Be safe and be well.
I think Mariana has something to say.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Please, Mariana, because we still do have a minute or two left. So please.
No, I guess I was really like reflecting on, I think it was your comment about, okay, what is it that we bring that AI doesn't? And I guess maybe about your last question in terms of what do we think we could focus? I guess it could be like one on strengthening human interaction, which AI doesn't do, focus more on emotional attachment, like the point about empathy and how we can emotionally connect with others, which again AI doesn't do. And then I guess finally we are all humans, and humanity has different nuances. So I think AI, although it can work more to use different data in a multimodal approach. I don't think it acknowledges much the humanization. I think, on the contrary, it perpetuates a bit the dehumanization of approaches. So I guess we can also strengthen our role and our contribution to humanizing society and contributing to the humanization. So these are, I guess, some reflections. And thank you for your question about how we can do more than AI.
Well, let's take on the challenge together, young and old, rich and poor, and use it as a way to bond even more. Driss, thank you so much. Have a good day, all, and we look forward to seeing you in another month. Be safe and be well. Hopefully, any of you coming to Los Angeles, my home city, please give me a call. We'll have a cup of tea. I know it's a long flight for many of you, having just flown back from the Middle East. It's quite the distance, but any of you who do make it to the APA next week, please give me a call. I'd love to see you in person, not just a little tiny picture on a screen. But thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.